you have to do what God has told you to do and not listen and not try to mimic and look at, hey, man, you need a bigger space. You need a traditional storefront.
Yep.
And look at the times we're in. The traditional storefronts are closing down, unfortunately.
It's too expensive.
And you sit on all this inventory that you don't move, or you have to do sales and things of that nature.
Right.
Then you need the capital. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
And like you said, it's too expensive because every month the bills is not going to stop.
Right.
So we've created this dope model that if you have a iPad or a MacBook, measuring tape, fabrics, and the heart to do it.
MyCore is on a mission to be the world's most people-centric company. The purpose of this podcast is to get to the core of people. I'm your host, Nathan Bourne, and I invite you to join me as we deep dive into the personal and professional lives of our guests. We're going to learn who they are, why they exist, and what they do. We're going to hear their stories, the good, the bad, and the ugly. In other words, we're going to talk to some really cool people. Welcome to the MyCore podcast. What's up? What's up? Yes, I'm wearing sunglasses. Do you think I would be dressed like this and not be wearing these sunglasses? I am super pumped for today's episode. I'm here with my man, Arminius Patterson. I realized that I didn't really know your last name because with a name like Arminius, you don't really need a last name. That's like Madonna or Jordan.
Facts.
So I'm here with Arminius. I think that just says enough. I'm going to take the glasses off. Don't worry. Arminius and I met, it's probably been 2 or 3 years now.
Yep.
Here in the building. Your office / I guess you could call it your storefront as well. Yeah. Is right here in downtown Jacksonville. And I'm super pumped for this episode. If you know me, you know I don't normally dress like this. I mean, I like to dress like this now that I'm here.
Yeah.
But my man Arminius, I'm telling you, I have seen you every day here. I think you're probably the only person in the building, definitely in the building, maybe just period, that I know that works harder than I do. I mean, we are here. Like, I will see you, and I think we've had sort of a kind of like low-key respect for each other. At least I know I have for you. When I'm like, damn, he's hustling, man. He's getting after it. So tell us a little bit about you. Tell us about your business. Tell me again how to say it. It's Audacious by Arminius.
Correct. You know.
All right, I got it.
Is.
So welcome.
Thank you, man. Thank you for having me. It's been a while, Nathan. I feel like I should have been on here by now.
I know, man. But, look, by the way, I don't know which conversation this is, but by the way we're dressed, I think it just needs to be combo number 007. I feel like we're kind of dressed like, spies or something.
Yeah. But no, man. Audacious by Arminius. We're a custom suit company here in Jacksonville. We just opened up a new office in Raleigh, North Carolina as well.
Oh, cool.
So we pretty much specialize, man, in custom clothing for men, women, kids. So,
okay. For children as well.
Yeah,
is it because of like the wedding parties?
Or do
people just ball out and like have their kids custom clothing?
So in April, we made a suit for a 2-year-old.
Jeez.
Well, he was going to like a daycare sneaker ball type of thing.
Something special, obviously.
It was nice. And the parent was like, I just want him to be different. And I said, hey, he's going custom at 2.
That's crazy.
It's going to be different. It's definitely going to be different.
My kids get custom clothing, custom from their older sibling.
Yeah.
Hand-me-downs, right?
Facts.
Dude, that's crazy, man. So you've got, and women. I didn't realize, I thought it was all men.
No, man. We have some women's suits, man. If you go on our website.
Right. So the main thing is that it's suits.
Yes. Suits, dress shirts. We do a couple different skirts, pantsuits, and things of that nature.
That's awesome.
But yeah.
Well, I actually, I love clothing probably more than I should. You wouldn't know it because I don't dress up that much anymore. But I used to dress more like this. I aspired to be Audacious by Arminius, but I never really got to that level before I switched my style. So I'm thrilled to be doing this episode with you and doing it dressed like
Facts.
this. It feels good. It's a good vibe, and I would imagine that a lot of your clientele are entrepreneurs. I mean, I know you've got some ball players too. Like, who's kind of your main? Like, who's buying custom suits on the regular? Like, you got to be a baller, and maybe literally you play ball.
Yeah, yeah. It's
Because I've
what
seen your content, and like is it one of the Jaguars players?
couple Jacks.
Okay.
We got the couple different players as well. We have Anthony Richardson, who's the quarterback for the Indianapolis Colts.
Nice.
Jaguar players, we landed Matt Jones. Mac was headed to the ESPY Awards, so was able to get him a tux in
Nice.
2 weeks, if I can add that. We met the deadline, and then Evan Ingram, he tied the knot, man, and that's when we got our feature in Vogue
Oh,
from Evan's
right.
wedding. And then we also have Monteric. Monteric is a defensive back. Made him some suits last year. So just continue to build him, man, building on that portfolio, putting out great product.
Okay, cool.
We also have Shaquille Griffin, former Jag. We had him while he was here as well. So
Yeah.
yeah.
That's awesome, man. Tell me about like how you got into this space, right? I mean, at some point, unless maybe you were going custom at 2 years old, but did you grow up around affluence? Did you grow up around like nice things, nice clothing? Because your office is a lot like mine. It's set up really nicely. It's got a beautiful aesthetic, and I think just generally people like that feel. But you've made a career out of it, right?
Right.
You've built a brand and identity. I'm kind of curious to start to unpack like how you landed on this and you're a super capable guy. Like there's a lot of things you could do, but maybe we could pinpoint like how you got into this industry. I'm super interested in that.
Yeah, yeah, for sure, man. Just we started with humble beginnings.
Okay.
But I think it's similar to the generation and the world that we're in now. I think a lot of the next gen, and they're kind of thinking that you just arrive, and it's more so I've tried to focus on the micro, not the macro.
Okay.
So that consistency of step by step, day by day, just being better than I was the previous day,
Yeah.
in a sense. So I started literally going to thrift stores, grabbing suits, and then learning tailoring
Oh wow.
because I couldn't, I didn't know much about custom wear kind of
Right.
growing up. Had a couple suits for Easter, as you will know, in
Right.
church and
Right.
things of that nature.
The big
But
events.
yeah, man. But I think I've always been drawn to fashion. I can remember just sitting on the edge of the bed with my mom. She hasn't put up laundry, and I'm just feeling the fabrics, like just rubbing my hands throughout the
Really?
fabrics. When she would take me to different clothing stores, and I would run down the aisles and just touch all of the fabrics.
Wow.
So I think then, and just learning different brands at an early age, I think that kind of helped me in a sense to where I'm at now.
Yeah.
But I didn't just arrive and this, had this clientele of everyone who can value custom clothing. So to
Right.
anyone watching, I would even say, hey man, you don't have to start with custom clothing,
Right.
because again, the price point
Right.
could be a little high.
Right.
But at
It's an
least,
acquired taste, right?
yeah,
It's
yeah, man, yeah. But it's different ways of style. You know what I
yeah.
mean? I think that's what we kind of get mixed up in the mix. You know what I'm saying? You can have
Right.
the money for something, but if we don't have the style or the taste to put it
Right. You
together,
can't buy that, right?
you
No
can't buy
amount of money
style.
gives you
No, you can't
that
buy
style.
taste, man. Nah,
Yeah.
it doesn't work,
Yeah,
man.
and I know
So
we've sort of appreciate each other's um, style, and I mean that kind of across the board. But even like here in my little studio slash office, this is all eclectic. Like this piece here was little bit of a larger investment,
hmm
but what I love about it is that it's an authentic antique. Like if I were to, I think I showed this to you one time, but if I lift up that cushion you're sitting on, there's this really cool tag that you could tell was just like an old typewriter or something that
facts.
made it. It
Yep.
has the date on it. It's authentic in that way. But yeah, like some of these pieces here. I mean, this is you know
Yeah.
Facebook Marketplace
Yeah. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
this coffee table I think I got for $80 and went and picked it up and but you got to have an eye for it, and I think people, maybe miss the opportunity to make a first or a good first impression.
Right.
And what better a way to do that than through your dress, through your, I mean, like even hygiene, I knew we were going to do this episode together. So I was like, all right, do I go like, do I shave? Do I go the mustache?
Yeah.
I mean, I've been thinking about it all week, so I chose to go beard with a mustache head start. Um, and but even like things like shaving your neck or keeping
Hmm.
yourself groomed, it's like it sends a message, right? The way you do anything is the way you do everything.
Absolutely.
And if you're sloppy, you're going to be sloppy on the field. You're going to be sloppy in the boardroom. So that's cool that you've been able to have a really broad business, because I would imagine from like a revenue standpoint and kind of like the profit center of the business, weddings are probably a big event that people like come out of pocket more than they ever would
Yes.
for these types of garments and clothing. So that seems to be, because even I notice sometimes I'm like, they look like they're getting married. They'll be here in the building, but it's got to be fun to land those athletes too, because that just has some cool factor to it, and then it has probably a ripple effect because they have a lot of influence.
Yes, yes. So it's definitely great, man, to work with athletes. And also, I'm just blessed, that I've prayed that God send me the people you want me to
Yeah,
serve. So I get a lot of just good people
that's
and
cool.
not like arrogant, stuck
Yeah,
up type of guy. Like, no, man, everybody is super, super chill.
that's cool.
Everybody just loves what we have to offer. And then we also, I'm big on relationships. So I'm
Great.
more so in it for the long term relationship and not
Right.
just the right now.
Smart.
And weddings are amazing, bro, just to literally from kind of start to finish of creating a garment, starting
Yeah.
off with some fabrics. And then also when you're talking about budget wise, there's really not a budget for a wedding. When
Right.
when you're
Right. Yeah.
when the
It's like
women,
monopoly money at that
yeah, they
point,
come
right? They're
in
like,
and
whatever. This is my
yeah,
day.
yeah. And honestly, a lot of the consultations are kind of booked by the woman for the
Right.
guy,
Right.
and
Right.
he's just kind of sitting there like, yeah, I'm just here to pay, bro.
Yeah. Like, we'll just get to it.
And I'm like, man, you got to get involved, man.
Nice. So you'll engage them in the kind of the journey and the like. What do
Yeah,
you like? Tell me
yeah.
something special. And then do you find like unique ways to like tell their story within either the palette or the fabric? Like, tell me a little bit about your process.
So yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So crazy you said tell the story. So we do this very, very unique thing to where we kind of put this custom picture lining inside the jacket.
Really?
So we have some people who kind of submit engagement photos,
That's
and then we
sick.
create a
Because of fabric?
collage. Mhm.
Oh, that's
And
cool.
then we stitch it on the inside
I love that.
with different wedding dates, different first dates,
Yeah.
quotes, hashtags.
Right.
Because also, man, you have to be confident. We can
Right.
make the suit for you and draft it for you, but
Right.
if it's not a color that you like, if it's not a
Right.
fabric that you're comfortable with, if it doesn't fit properly,
Mm.
you know what I mean? If it's not the most flattering,
Right.
that's my job to kind of educate
Right.
why this fabric is more heavy, is heavier than the other fabric. And are you getting married in Florida or are you getting married in New York? All these things matter when
Right.
we're talking about standing in something or the investment piece of a custom suit, not just this one day. But hey,
Right.
man, I want to spend this money, but I also want to wear this item multiple times.
Yeah.
So I want to explain to you the quality of the fabric that's going to meet your price point. Now, if you're not at that price point,
Right. Right.
we may have a tier right beneath that, but it's also going to be of quality.
Yeah,
So,
talk to me about that. Like, what kind of range? So, like, I mean, suits aren't cheap, right? Even ones I've bought like off the rack or
mhm,
ready wear.
mhm.
I mean, I'm like, I just dropped $1,000 on a suit, or 800, or it's hard to get out the door for less than $500 anywhere. So,
Yeah.
what's the like range in your in your suits? I would imagine sometimes they're like let me put it this way: what's the most expensive suit that you've ever like provided or sold?
Well, Nathan, man, you trying to get in my pockets.
I'm low class, man. I'm gonna go right to the
Nah,
right to the
man,
number.
it's
I'm
so
not keeping it classy.
so
In this
on
classy suit.
honestly, the most expensive suit I've ever sold was about $4,500.
Okay, cool.
And the reason being, it was a lot of handwork.
Right.
However, like we offer truly bespoke custom garments, which is like 90% handmade,
Right.
10% machine. The turnaround time is longer than the
Okay.
machine work
Right.
in a sense. A off the rack suit from our company would pretty much typically start you right around that $475, $500
Okay,
price
cool.
point, but you're going to need additional alterations.
Right.
And then an entry level standard custom suit is going to start you right about $1,050
Okay.
on the lower end. Then you can kind of
But that,
go
that
up from
that's
there.
good to
But
know, because you're still serving a market that can swing it, right? I mean,
Yeah.
if they value it, right? If you're making a couple $100,000 a year, or at these athletes, you know, a couple million or whatever, that that ain't a thing, right? It's
Mm-hmm.
all relative. But it's nice that you have the full spectrum, so that you know you can serve a clientele that values a $2,000-3,000 suit,
Right.
which is a unique person. You know what I mean? Like, I've
Yeah.
never bought that kind of suit,
Yeah.
right? But maybe one day. Um, but then also you can meet people that say, hey, we want to, you know, invest in a in a special moment, a special, you know, day, and it doesn't necessarily break the bank. So that's got to be cool, because you probably work with all kinds of walks of life. I really liked what you said there about, especially because the, you know, you think of the NFL particularly, you know, there's a lot of like production value that comes with that,
Mm-hmm.
right? It's not your typical sport where they're just playing the sport. I mean,
Right.
you see them coming off the plane and they're walking into the locker room. It's like a whole thing,
Yes.
and it's always been like that. But now with social media, it's decentralized to where they control the production,
Mm-hmm.
right? So you're having to think of that narrative like, okay, they're going to be on the plane. They're gonna have camaraderie. People are like, "Yo, that suit's fresh. I've
Right.
never
Yeah.
seen that one. Where'd you get that?" You're like, "You gotta talk to my boy Arminius, right?" So you talked, the way you said it was kind of like you landed these clients. You don't have anything exclusive with them though, right? It's not like you, like, how does that work? And is there ever a time where if you could get them to wear your suit, I would imagine that's a good loss leader, like almost, yo, I'll just give you the suit to wear. Have you thought of that in your marketing, or is it still like a transactional thing? Talk to me about like these, just because it's kind of sensational to talk about the ballers wearing your stuff, because I've seen it on your social media and I was like, all right, Arminius, like, I see you. So yeah, tell me about like how that even happens.
So it's almost kind of mastering the art of the word no. Like,
Oh, okay.
so what I mean by that
Yeah,
is
I love that.
most of the clients, it's probably after my fourth or fifth no. So Anthony Richardson, that was my fifth no. And that was me talking to the agent. Oh, no, not right now. That's me talking to his assistant. No, not right now.
Wow.
That's me also reaching out to his mom via email and just finding different
Yeah,
contacts.
right.
And literally, man, it was a whole process. And we finally jumped on the call. Then we jumped on the Zoom. But that's literally after my fourth no. So I went into it with the mindset of them saying yes. However, I'm like, okay, I'm not stopping at the first no. I'm not stopping at the second no. Same layup with Evan Ingram.
Okay.
So it was the consistency of me kind of
Right.
still pressing, still pushing. But in the meantime, I'm putting out dope product. So when Evan finally does go to the social media and the website, he's like, oh man. So this the guy my dad was telling me about, which is how I landed Evan through his dad. And his dad stayed on him. And just for some reason, Evan never came around.
Right.
And I'm like, bro, this is like my fifth time reaching out.
Bro, I gotta just take a moment, because from my point of view as an entrepreneur, having built my core, what you just said encapsulated a lot of nuggets, and I'd like to speak to them. I know you know what you're saying, but I'm like, I don't even know if he knows what he just said because you nailed it. Like, to build a business, to build a brand, to build a clientele, you have to have this dominant belief, this dominant thought of a future version of yourself, a future version of the company, a future. It's always in the future. It's not present, right?
Right.
I mean, you got to be okay with the moment,
Mm-hmm.
and you don't want to be constantly reaching for something that, you know, is never going to bring you contentment now. But that's what entrepreneurs do. They live in tomorrow, but they still have to deal with today, and then they got to deal with yesterday, because something happened yesterday that spilled into today that will probably become part of tomorrow. And I love the way you frame that, because you're going through the steps, you're taking the L's, you're taking the no's, but the whole time you're doing it with the positive expectation and preparation
Right.
for when you do get their ear, you do get their eye, and they go like, right, because it's like anything, it's the spaced repetition of your hustle, your perseverance, but also it's like branding, right? They go like, what, mom? You know, like, nah, like, don't worry, like, I'm good, you know, and then someone just gets it wrong one day, right? Or like and I know this on a much smaller scale, obviously, but as a college wrestler, I've done a lot of like speaking. How you feel before you perform
Mm-hmm.
is
Mm-hmm.
everything, right? Like, and so people get real crazy with it, like superstitious and all that. But that's why it's worth the investment, because if you're getting paid millions of dollars and your job is to catch a ball, you know what I mean? Like that's what you do. Well, everything you do up to that moment matters, right? So if you're just like, man, this thing's itchy or something, it can throw your whole
Yeah.
mental game off, right? So that moment when the opportunity opens up, you got to be ready. So it's pretty cool. I love the way you put that, like that you went through the nose, but the whole time you're like, I'm gonna get you, bro. Like I'm gonna
Yeah,
get you all.
and that's why I feel like I'm the best at what I do, because I
Yeah,
just don't feel like I'm going to quit or stop,
yeah,
and not in comparison to another company. It's more so in comparison to I've got the right yes that one time,
right,
and now that I've seen that it's possible, you can't make me think otherwise. Like
right,
it's just like you're going to tell me no. Okay, cool.
right,
I'm just going to
right.
keep going, and the opportunity when it presents itself. That's the biggest thing, is the preparation and being ready for it when it does present itself. Like I go into it thinking and knowing that I'm going to win the day. I wear the same suit when I probably all of the clients, the high end quote unquote NFL guys who I've closed,
Yeah,
I've worn the green double breast suit every single time.
that one's sick, man.
Every
That's
every
my
time.
favorite. Yeah.
Yeah. And
So now
then
you almost have your not superstition, but you
it's kind
have
of
your
proper.
kind
Yeah.
of playbook where you're
Yeah.
like, yo, I know this is the one that's gonna hit.
Every time, bro.
Dude, that I mean the colors, like the exact color, the My Core green.
Yeah.
I need to get that suit
Yeah.
from you, man. That thing is sick.
And then when I'm traveling, it's the same ordeal, because I know someone's going to stop me and say, "Hey, man,
Right.
that's a nice suit. Oh,
Yeah.
thank you so much. I designed it. Here's my card."
Yeah.
It's setting it up every single time, no matter how many times I wear
You know
it.
what I'm loving too about your commitment to your craft is, as COVID came and made this like work from home, stay in your sweatpants, dress like crap,
Mm-hmm.
everyone's casual, normalized. And you could look at that and think like, oh, well, that's bad for my business. I think you'd probably agree with me. That's good for your business because you stand out that much more, right?
Right.
Like
Right.
that fewer people are wearing suits.
Right.
And then you walk in like this and it's like, damn, you got to go to a wedding? It's like, nah, bro, it's a Tuesday.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah,
this is
man.
just how I roll.
Yeah.
So you're literally embodying it on your, person, that the moments that people will pay that price for, right? So I love that, you got to be a product of the product. You got to eat your own dog food. You can't roll up looking, slack ass to somebody that's about to drop a few $1,000s on a suit and could have a ripple effect of influence. So that's cool that that's your go-to suit because it's unique.
I know it.
It has this that one I guess you could have wore it today, but I would just spend a lot of green. I love this
And I
choice.
thought
Though. I
about
love
it,
this
and I'm
choice.
like, oh man, the gold buttons may probably like, but Nathan has a lot of
It's a
green,
lot of green.
so I didn't. But it's you're a walking billboard for the company.
Yeah.
And then I'll tell you this: the reason why the Amex Platinum card, so you can gain access into the lounge and things of that nature.
Right.
I specifically got the card
Nice.
to be in
Just
the
to go in
lounge
there.
because I know my clientele is going to be there. So now I'm
Right.
in the lounge with the green suit,
Yeah.
bumping into someone like yourself in the sweats, in the tee.
Yeah.
But the entire time, you're a CEO, you're a boss. You run
Right.
your
They're
own
dressed
company,
that way that day. Yeah, exactly.
and I know those things.
I
So
love that, man. That's really cool because you're having to essentially dress the part for their moment. Like you have to always look like their moment so that when they think of their moment,
boom,
they think of you.
every time.
Right, that's good. And honestly, like now I gotta buy a suit for me because the one I got on today is sick, but it ain't fitted.
Yeah.
And I know it's got some for full transparency, it's got some tags on it because I think it's probably still gonna get used. and this is the truth of it, right? So I said, all right, man, I cannot do this episode with Arminius looking like a bum, right? So I grabbed my wardrobe and you were very polite. He was like, yeah, let me see what I think I got. I got a
pieces.
like, you didn't do me like that, man. My express suit. So I appreciate you letting me rock this. This is
No
fresh.
worries, man.
But talk to me a little bit about this process. So like, if I were to come into your shop, your space, and you fitted me for this, then it goes to a seamstress. Like I'm assuming you're not. I've never seen you in there
Yeah, yeah,
sewing. So
yeah.
you have a like a back end production,
Hmm.
and then it comes out, and are you the one that present? I mean, I imagine sometimes you ship it too.
Yeah. So the process with you with the off the rack option
Okay.
is literally we have suits that are sample suits, things that we've designed that maybe they didn't sell the best
Okay.
or are no longer in season that we may still have on hand, or we can just order different things that are not truly custom. So we kind of get maybe 6 measurements for the off the rack option, order the suit in. It may need slight alterations just from personal preference. So
Right.
maybe some taperness towards the bottom to give it a more fitted look.
Right.
And then we do have in-house seamsters and tailors that we have a crazy turnaround time. We can get something to you same day if you
Wow.
come in early enough in the morning,
Wow.
or next day, kind of just
Right.
depending
Right.
on how soon you need it.
Realistically.
The custom option is totally different. You're picking out the fabric, you're picking out the buttons.
Okay.
You actually pick out whether you want functional buttons, button sleeves, and buttonholes, which is like a subtle flex.
Yeah.
So
That is a
those
subtle
don't
flex.
open up in
No,
all
these
the ones
aren't
you have on.
flexing. These are
Yeah.
just
So
yeah.
that's another taste type of thing. Like
Right.
if you're
Right.
drinking, you're grabbing your glass or
Right.
a watch, someone sees that
If you
buttonhole,
know, you know,
and
kind
so
of
if you know, you
thing.
know. So
Yeah.
that's a whole nother
Yeah.
conversation.
Oh,
You can
that's fun, man.
kind of pick between
Yeah.
belt loops and adjustable pull tabs, just depending on your personal preference again. So it's a lot, man. The linings, the monograms on the inside. I have my favorite scripture,
Yeah. Tell me about that, man.
which is Psalms 46:10. It just says, "Be still and know that I am God." So that's kind of just a daily reminder for myself to just, hey man, relax and understand who's in control,
Oh, I
because
love that.
a lot of things we think we do in our own strength, but how fast he'll humble us and keep your eye on the prize, and you got to give
Facts.
him the glory in all that we do. So it's a great process, man. I love the process of the custom suiting because it's kind of telling your story within
And
the
let me see it.
fabrics.
Does it have the just the Okay, you
Okay.
wrote it all out. I
Yeah,
love
yeah,
that.
yeah.
So my sister has "Be Still," the words "Be Still" tattooed right on her arm from that exact
Hmm.
scripture, and I've always loved that. So do you do that in most of your suits? All of your
All
suits?
my suits have some sort of quote,
Yeah.
scripture, things, movies. Literally, I'm a huge Belly, the movie Belly with Nas and DMX.
Okay.
I have like illest from Nebraska in my suit because I feel like I'm the best. Which
Right.
he was saying that in the movie, like I'm the illest from Nebraska.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
man.
So I feel like I'm the illest in the suit game, and that's just a reminder. But this specific scripture, in the times that we're in now, I know other entrepreneurs maybe feel this,
Yeah.
but man, it's been tough.
Yeah.
But be still,
Amen.
because in this moment, in these times, I feel like God is really trying to get us to focus more
Yeah.
on Him.
Amen.
So just relax. And I also feel like, hey, this is also sometimes to, hey, work on some things within the company.
Yeah.
Work on the website,
Yeah.
work on the contract, you know what I mean? Work on that email, just the small things that you don't have the time to do,
Yeah.
and rest. You know what I mean? Rest, just literally be still. And in due time, He's going to show up.
Yeah.
But the scary part about it, we want it on our time. We don't know what it's going to look like. You know what I mean? We have a vision for what we think the company will be.
Oh man.
So that be still part.
You're reading my mail, man. Yeah,
So
that's you're speaking to me. I mean, I struggle regularly with that. I mean, it's a real grapple with God, and I've learned to surrender. But then I still fight it. Like even as I'm like down, I'm like, all right, you got it. And I'm like biting his ankles,
Yeah.
like still trying to force things. But I've certainly learned. I've been saying this recently that a CEO isn't so much a chief executive officer as much as you are a chief energy officer, right? And you have to manage the energy, and not just like from the standpoint of like generating it. I think the initial thought would be like, yeah, you got to make it rain with energy. Kind of the opposite. You've got to decide when you're in those seasons of being still and when you ramp it up, and how it gets to that point, and the kind of the bell curve of that. And as your company grows and your brand grows, it becomes that much more of a nuanced thing, because you're not necessarily pulling the lever yourself. You're pulling the lever that pulls the lever that turns the gear that fires the piston. So it's these degrees of separation, and I've had to learn that. quite a bit. Like, I think 2024 is a kind of a weird animal, you know, and I think you're absolutely right that scripture's fitting. I mean, you could look at it politically, right? So people typically kind of just post up and chill during an election cycle like this because you're all kind of waiting and watching. It's also like really entertaining too. So you're like, like, oh, I can't believe you said that. You know, like, actually, I can't believe you said that. You know, and there's a lot going on right now. You know, in the political landscape. So I think people are probably pushing off some of the things that they would normally decide. And I think that's an opportunity for movers and shakers to work on their business, like you were saying, right? And we're always working in it, but I think few people really make the shift to work on it, you know, and to get the systems in place, to get the infrastructure in place. And I think about like the way you dress and the product that you provide. And if I had to probably sum it up in one word, I would say impeccable, right? It's impeccable. The output that comes to life when you gather the story and literally measure. I love it because one of our core values is measure what matters. And on our website, it has our shield, and then it has like a measure, like an old school, I guess it's like a measuring tape, but like the soft one the thing you measured.
Yeah.
What is it called? Measuring tape?
Just measuring tape.
Just a measuring tape. Yeah. But it's not like the kind you have on your hip if you're
like,
doing hammer, like working construction. So it's more of like a fashion looking one. But when we chose that, when Kenny and I were going through the graphics for that, I thought of you because I think I know I said it to her. I was like, yo, when I was in Arminius's office, he's got one of these cool measuring tapes. And I think that this is a season for measurement, right? Like take inventory, measure your heart, measure your faith, measure your health, measure the intangibles, but then also like look at your bank account and look at your client base and make sure your stuff is buttoned up, pun intended, right?
Yeah.
So
to your point, even so you said taking inventory, right? So I proposed this question I said, what does it take to be you, or how much does it cost to be you? And I think most people were responding was like, oh, it's a trick question, or it's X amount of this. And I'm like, just think about it. Like, society pushes this. I want to be a millionaire.
Right.
I want to be a billionaire. Right. Me personally, if I was a millionaire, I know 500K is going to philanthropy because I don't need or I don't want with my lifestyle. I've taken inventory of who I am as a person, what I like, the luxury things that I like, what does my wife like, and I know, the pretty much the amount that I will need without grinding and driving myself into the ground. I work hard. I'm dedicated to it, but I feel like we're in the mindset of I have to make X amount of dollars to do this, or I have to make this in a year. If not, it wasn't a successful year. That's not the case.
It's amazing the weight that we put on money. Like I heard this from Jim Rohn. It's one of my favorite kind of quotes of his, but he says, money's not everything, but it ranks up there with oxygen. And it's kind of a funny thing. And you're like, yeah, I mean, it's important. And there's no negating that. Like, yeah, I mean, it's about as important as oxygen or water, basic needs. But what he also says is that it's easy to count. And I like that. But I think sometimes we take something that is as black and white as money, a number in a bank account, a net worth, and we put so much stock in that. And it's not like we, the modern person, have done this. I mean, you look at the Bible, there's no word in the Bible that is mentioned more than money. Right? Not faith, not grace, not forgiveness, money. And it's like, well, that's interesting, right? And I think, world according to Nathan, I think that God knew, I know that God knows, but I think that what he was communicating to us was, hey, of all the things that you could choose to worship before me, money's probably going to be it, right? And that's why I think the tithe is so important. That's why I think, like you said, giving, having a philanthropic, charitable heart, a heart of giving is so important, because you're really communicating in the most tangible way possible. I trust you, God.
Right.
I trust you with my livelihood. I trust you with my finances. I trust you with my lifestyle. And there's very few ways to communicate that level of trust outside of giving away your money,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
So I love that a driver for you in growing your business and growing your revenue and growing your client base is being, sounds like, radically um, generous. So is that something that's always been who you are? Is that an awakening that you had?
Yeah, for sure. Definitely. I've and not just money, but time.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? Just serving.
Energy. Yeah.
Just serving. So for me, what I um the word Christianity to me means to be more Christ-like.
Yeah.
And that's just what I'm just trying to do
Right.
every day. You know what I mean? Like I'm not him. I'm nowhere near perfect.
Right.
And I know that about myself, and
For
then I
sure.
can't fool him as well.
Right.
So
Right.
the fact that I know that, I'm just looking at different things that he's done. I'm like, okay, cool. So this is how I'm going to serve.
Cool.
So he sends me the people who he wants me to serve, and that's through clothing,
Yeah.
that's through motivation, that's through school, giving back. You know, we do the prom giveaway every
Yeah. I
year,
love that.
things of that nature. But it's like, bro, we get so much, man. Like, I'm able to walk, I can read, I can speak, I can hear.
Right. You have all your
Like,
faculties, your
yeah.
health,
So
your
you know what I
capabilities.
mean? Like, opposed to people who really don't have shelter,
Yeah.
they don't have vehicles, they don't have food. You know what I mean? So for us to have those things and be in a position of overflow,
Yeah.
and everyone's around me, I feel like they should reap the benefits as well. So that's
I love that.
always been a part, and it's going to continue to be a part of our company for sure. Because you have larger brands like the shoes that I have on,
Right.
honestly, that I
I mean,
don't know what they
we
give
can't. You
back.
can't just say that. You can't be wearing Louis Vuitton shoes and just say that. You got to show it quick. Show me that shoe, man. That thing's sick.
Well,
Yeah,
the
like the shoe. I like. Yeah, like those Louis
well,
Vuittons. You're
they're
right.
not cutting us a check for the sponsorship. So,
Right. I know.
but you know, like the Louis Vuitton, like, and the Gucci's and the things of that nature is like, hey, we spent top dollar. Let's hold those brands accountable and say, if we're going to spend this amount of money, let us also reap benefits on the other end and give back to those individuals
Right.
who pour into your company. That's all I'm saying.
Well, I love that you're. This is really important. I think the way that this conversation is shaping up because typically giving, serving, power to the people, like the idea that you're making an impact for the, call it the masses,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like something I heard early on in my journey that I was able to translate into business, but was really biblical, is what Jesus said, right? That service to many leads to greatness.
Mm-hmm.
And I always identify with that because I thought, like, yeah, I'd like to be great. Like, I'd like to be great at what I do and a great father and a great husband and a great leader. Like, who doesn't want to be great?
Right.
Well, then you kind of like try to break that down. Like, well, how do you do that? You know, is it just talent? No, it's service to many that leads to greatness. And typically, people that are wired that way wouldn't dress the way that you dress, you know,
Right.
wouldn't have the aspirations that you have, wouldn't be in the circles that you're in. And I love featuring you and your story in this way because people need to know that even the elite,
Mm-hmm.
you know, even people that wear custom suits or in the special lounge at the airport, they have a great, not all of them, some of them are, you know, shitty, you know,
Yeah.
but a great majority of them have gotten to that level because they've served or because they've brought value or because something that they created has scaled. And growing up the way I grew up, which was not around money, very humble beginnings as well, you know, you get these weird kind of head trash um, beliefs around money, right? You hear things like money is the root of all evil,
Mm-hmm.
right? But that's not actually what it says. It's not money
It's
is
the
the root of all,
love,
it's the love
the love for
of
money.
money is the root of
Right.
all evil, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, and money doesn't grow on trees. So there's, I think a lot of people are held back by their stinking thinking
Mm-hmm.
around money. And it's cool that you've been able to preserve and retain the heart of who you are and then usher that into a space where there is sort of a sex appeal, you know, and it's kind of worldly, right? Like
Yeah.
you could argue that a lot of the things that a lot of the circles that you're in and the products that you're providing are, I don't want to say secular, but like you could wrestle with like, why does this even matter? Like who cares? These people are paying thousands of dollars for a suit when you've got kids starving in Africa, and it's like, wait a second, like I'm curious how some of your philosophies around that, because you have this heart of giving and this sort of heart of gold, but then you also provide this really elite kind of like exclusive product. Talk to me about that spectrum a little bit. How do you like manage that?
Yeah.
Does that make sense? I know it's
No,
a little
no,
bit hard
no.
to articulate.
No, I got you.
I'll try not to spill any more coffee on your suits.
And I think that's the beauty of wanting to be more Christ-like. You want to extend the grace that God has extended us every day to all people, bro. Because I don't want anyone, and just naturally,
Right.
as a human, we can be judgmental. So when someone sees me in a suit,
Right.
and they want to ask for something, to your point, they're thinking he's not going to give it to me.
Right.
He's snobby. He feels like he's up here and I'm down here.
Yeah.
And then when they read the tagline, "Dapper Down to Earth," it's who I am. No,
Yeah.
I'm not
I'm
that
down
way.
to
You know what I
earth.
mean? I'm down to earth. You see what I'm saying?
I
But
love that.
when they're looking at it just from a visual, or the opposite, if you're not dressed like me and I'm in gym shorts or I'm in, Jordan tennis shoes, whatever the case may be, and you see me across the street,
Right. Which I've never seen you like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd be like, Arminius. Like,
funny story.
Yeah. Is that you?
On Mother's Day, I'm shopping, grabbing some gifts, and I see a customer I did their wedding. I said, "Hey man, what's going on?" And he kind of jumped back.
Yeah, like I don't know you, man.
He's like, "Excuse me?" He was like, "Bro," I was like, "Arminius?" And I got on a t-shirt, I got on the hat to the back, some glasses. I'm like, "Yeah." So he brings his wife over.
Oh, that's awesome.
And I'm like, "Hey, how you doing? How's everything going? How's the first year?" And she's like, "It's going well," but she's looking so perplexed, like,
right, like I do not know this person.
She's like, "Wow, that's a great disguise." She said, "That's a great disguise you have on."
Right.
And I'm like, "It's not a disguise,"
Yeah.
but you know what I mean. But that goes
I've never
back
seen
to
you that way. Yeah.
our point. But getting back on topic, I think, man, I think I am going to be like the Bible, the only Bible that some people may really read. And again, I'm not perfect, but I don't think I'm called to be in a pulpit. I think my ministry.
Hold up real quick. I gotta. You said something really cool there. Did you say I'm gonna be the only Bible people read?
Yeah.
I'm not. That's really cool, man. I've never thought of
Yeah.
that. Right? Because what are the odds of some of the people that you're in community with, in relationship with, reading the Bible or going to church?
Yeah.
You are the church. You are the
church.
Bible. You are the body.
Right.
I mean, that's powerful, man,
Yeah.
because I think in our modern world, the church has become a building. It's become an amazing worship team. It's become like almost a talent show, right? Kenny and I joked about the difference between white church and black church, right? And how like in some churches, it becomes kind of like a display of talent, which is good because you want to show off your gifts. But it's like church wasn't designed for you. Church was designed to worship God. So the very notion that you would even give your review of a church is kind of silly. You're like, "Oh, I didn't really like the music, or like the pastor's message." Like, well, it doesn't really matter. Like you're not there for you. You're not getting served. You're there to worship and fall at your knees practically, right? So it's funny, this idea that people would like evaluate and review a church. It's all backwards. But I love the way you said that, man, that you become the embodiment of his word, in your way. So
Yeah.
I just that was awesome.
No,
Write that down. Yeah.
It's a business, but it's my ministry.
Right.
And it's literally, think about it. I have a unique opportunity to meet people from all across the world, different walks.
Yeah.
Through fashion.
Right.
Right. So now they're kind of comfortable. There's no shield.
Right.
And then if we're talking about weddings, we're talking about definitely some other stuff.
Right.
Leading up to the wedding, I'm asking, "Hey man, what do you think about premarital counseling?" And I'm married going on 8 years. And they're like, "Why you asking me that?"
Right.
Oh, here's why. I'm gonna be transparent with
Let
you.
me tell you.
This is why, brother. You want to
Yeah.
put all these things on the table prior to you verbally saying "I do," but more so committing in your heart. And then from a celebrity and athletes perspective,
Right.
these guys have huge platforms with millions of followers.
Right.
But at the end of the day, man, they're also human and they face things and they go through things. And
Right.
then we dress it up in a suit and we button it up a certain way and we mask it for so long. And it's like, bro, I have an opportunity to pray with you
Yeah.
before you leave my office.
That's
Most
so
people
good, man.
can't get in contact with you, and
Yeah.
I can from a suit. You know what I mean? So
Right.
building that relationship to ultimately lead you to the word of God, man. We can break bread. We can send it. We send each other scriptures.
That's
You know what I
cool.
mean? So it's. I feel like that's truly my calling. The reason why I am in this space. And then when I do get to that audience of the high school or the middle school who's coming to get a prom suit,
Mm.
now the mentorship of, hey, here are things that I did. I'm gonna be transparent with you. I went in this office,
Right.
and if I were you, I wouldn't want you to go through it.
Yeah.
But experience is the best teacher.
That's great.
But if
man.
you touch the stove and I'm telling you it's hot,
Right.
after you're gonna feel it. You know what I mean?
Oh, that's great,
So
man. That's really wise. That's rich. I love the fact that you're meeting people in all walks of life and in all stages of life through the same platform, the same conduit, which is is a cool place to be in, right? That you're like, look, I'm talking to a 16-year-old, a 17-year-old that's headed off to prom, and I'm able
right,
to instill and plant some seeds and share some what to do's and what not to do's. And then I'm talking to people that are at the top of their game that have millions of followers or making millions of dollars and kind of everything in between. So that's really neat. I talk a lot about C12, which is the Christian based, faith based peer advisory group for CEOs.
mhm,
Kenya is in a key players group, so we get to go through the same material. Actually, I have it right here. So it's this binder right here. It's awesome,
okay,
MBA level material, but through a faith lens. And the whole model is kind of based on this dedication that your business is really operating as a ministry. They call it BAM, business as a ministry. And you actually said it a few moments ago,
mhm,
without even probably realizing it. But actually, I know you realize it because you're intentional about it. But it's really cool that you're operating in that same way, that you see your business as a ministry, right? And that you get to minister, you get to share your faith, you get to share these life skills. It's not all just spiritual, right? It's
right,
also, well, all right, do you want this suit to fit this? Well, the wedding's in 6 weeks, so how's your nutrition going? Right? I mean, I bet there's a little like body
yeah,
image
yeah,
and health
mhm,
and kind of, maybe even a little bit of like, damn, I wear that now,
yeah,
or like, yeah, you're not that tall, so I had to get you, that
yeah,
kind of. So I'd imagine there's even like a little bit of love and like body shaming, dysmorphia, like that whole world is probably a part of what you do too, because it's such an custom, intimate thing when you're talking about dress.
yeah, absolutely, man, absolutely, 100%. Um, even from the nutritional part, when you're saying, "Hey, man, I'm getting married 6 months from now,"
Right,
you can measure me now, but I'm trying to lose weight. I'm trying to do this, that. All
right,
right, and I ask, "Hey, what are you doing?"
right.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah. How many times you work out?
Yeah,
The abs are made in where though?
right.
Oh, your nutrition, the kitchen. What are you
Yeah,
eating, brother?
right,
So just to dive into that is a whole nother avenue too.
right.
And so I got my degree in exercise science,
Oh, you
so
did?
I know
Okay,
the
cool,
body.
man.
You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying pretty
yeah. You
well
know that
too.
you know it,
Yeah,
like
yeah,
you
through and
know it.
through.
You know it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
for sure. So that also helps with the NFL guys
right.
too. But
Because you
just
can drop a couple things that they're like,
how you
oh,
know
you're
that?
talking about.
Yeah,
Yeah, you're not
yeah.
just like a weird fashion guy. Yeah,
But yeah, yeah, man. So just even and then the motivational piece when I'm talking to males who are insecure with the
yeah,
outer layer, but it's more so internal.
right.
You know what I'm saying?
Oh
Because
yeah,
you still have to feel a certain way about yourself prior to you. Hey man, I'm gonna go to the gym. Hey man, I'm gonna eat better. It's
right.
still the mental component to just the consistency of waking up and committing to something, even if it's 10 minutes. It's more so that, hey, I'm proud of myself for committing to
Right.
getting here for 10 minutes a day and just doing 25 push-ups. And then I'm gonna do 30.
Yep.
And then before you know it, I'm at 50. You know what I
Yep.
mean?
Yeah.
That micro
The
thing, the
progression, the
progression and not perfection.
compound effect.
Yeah.
Yeah. Man, it's so cool. Like I love the um all the facets of your business. I mean, who would think, right? I don't think without really unpacking it like this, you would be able to. I mean, you know it because it shows up in the way that you are, in the way that you lead with who you are. But it is interesting in business. I think a lot of people don't do the work. I call it forethought. It's like you have to think these things out. You have to feel these things out. And the person on the receiving end, be it a client, a prospective client, a new hire, they won't know the layers and the energy that you've applied to bringing meaning to all of it. But interestingly enough, like they will feel it or not feel it all at once, right? It'll
Right.
be lifeless because they'll go like, I don't think you really thought this through. Or they'll be like, oh, that kind of just hit like,
Yeah.
yeah, right. I mean, yeah,
Yeah.
you know it, right? Like, that they're going like, yeah, we're going to do the whole wedding party. And you're like, of course you are,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
why wouldn't you, So that's, I think there's just like such a mindset aspect that is not linear. And there's this culture now, and I'd be curious your take on this. You're a wise guy, and you're in a lot of these circles. I would imagine even potentially clients you've witnessed this, but I'm pretty. I mean, I got hustle, but I'm like against hustle culture,
Mm.
right? And I work harder than most, but I do it in a way that is maybe a little different than most approaches. So you see a lot on social media now. You see a lot of these characters that are just very like go go go. They're like drill sergeants. There's this one dude, man. I don't like hate the
They're
guy,
gonna
but
sell you the ebook.
yeah, man. I don't even know his name. I'm not gonna knock him, but like, dude, chill out, bro. Like, and what sucks is that I can tell he's just attracting other linear thinkers, other like just want to pound through your skull their message. And it's like, that is not sustainable, man. Like you need to find a rhythm and a cadence that can sustain, that can really almost be like a renewable energy. It's like the chief energy officer notion I was mentioning. But anywho, I don't like that. Like
Yeah.
it rubs me wrong. Like it just feels like ugh, sell, go, 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 get it, no excuses, close the deal. It's just like ugh. So it sounds like you mentioned that you're kind of selective or are selective about who you allow to be a client of yours,
Yeah.
right? And it's funny because when you mentioned the no's, I like the idea of flipping that and saying like, actually, you're saying no to them. Like you got to have this mentality.
Yeah.
Like you're not really ready yet for our minis, So we'll get there, right? Even though like I'm kind of trying to get them to say yes. It's this interesting tension, right? This fine line between like, am I saying no or are you saying no?
Leverage.
Am I getting you in or am I letting you
Facts.
in? That kind of thing.
Yeah.
So talk to me a little bit about that in your world.
Yeah, man. It's literally what you said. It's having the mindset of knowing like I know what I bring to the table.
Right.
This is my value. And even with you verbally saying, oh, not right now, in my mind, I'm still thinking you're gonna come back.
Right.
Because even if you find another suit, it's not going to be like the one we have created. And we've seen it. We've seen clients, go to another option,
right,
and it just wasn't the best.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, oh, and you can tell with them wearing it that they don't feel the best.
Right.
You can see it.
It wasn't impeccable, and it didn't
No.
like bring who they are to life, right? And no amount of money can buy that. So even if they were like, well, this one I'm dropping 10K on or whatever, you're like, go for it, man. Or the opposite end, right? Like they might be like, oh, well, I found one for cheaper, and you're like, yeah, sure, I'm sure you did.
You
but
get what you pay for,
right? You get what you pay for. So that's really interesting that you have like in the fabric of their life, like you're weaving this all together, and it's showing up tangibly in a garment in a suit. It's really cool, man. I mean, I even just in this moment, I realize how much analogies I use around clothing, like buttoning it up, or like, all right, dude's keeping it close to the vest, or you know, like it's really fun to play with it all. Yeah.
Suit yourself.
Yeah, suit yourself. I mean, you go all day. That's really cool.
Yeah, book with us, or hey, suit yourself, man.
Yeah, man, suit yourself.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So it sounds like you have a proper mentality around like who your ideal client profile, like your ICP is. Talk to me a little bit about like who that person is. I mean, we've kind of thrown a lot out there about it, but like who is your ideal client?
So people, you know, you got marketing companies who say, hey, I want you to identify your target audience.
Right.
I would like to say, I believe we're I would say we're the only suit company who I feel like we have something for everyone.
That's cool.
Old, young, the LGBTQ community, black, white, like whatever, bro. Like we can service whoever because of not only the fabric, but the relationship.
Right.
And more so meeting people where they are.
Right.
So it's not the price point. It's not that you don't have the money.
Right.
You don't value it. So what do you want to look like? How do you want someone to perceive you?
Right.
We can help you do that.
Yeah.
So if you value that, boom.
Right.
This is what we can do for you.
That's good.
So the ideal customer for me, I guess we just have to say, man, if you want to look nice, no matter the occasion, the venue, we make track jackets, sweatsuits, the cardigan sweaters, some things of that nature too. So it's not just all, like you would say, like just high end. Right. And then it's not so far low on the spectrum either to where you get someone who really they don't value it. The mindset is not there, and they give you the most problems. Like they want this, they want to add this, take this doesn't fit. Yeah. It's like, bro, come on. Hey, you know, we did a promo special here for you. But
like so you're getting lucky right now.
Yeah, man. Like you have some of those that kind of.
I love the way you spoke to the broad spectrum of people. I think that as Christians, we can get really exclusive really quickly because it's comfortable to talk to people that speak the same language, right? That have the glossary, you know, and say the stereotypical things like God is good all the time, right. All the time, God, you know, it's just like those phrases, and you can really mistake fellowship for complacency. Right. I mean, yes, you need to have a mastermind. You need to have a circle. You need to stay plugged into the people that are doing the deal, whether it's, you know, through their faith, their health, their finance, like all the things. But you also got to go and tell, you know what I mean? The Great Commission is evangelical. That's the whole point, is to share your belief. And I think it's like all sales is a transference of belief, right? So if you believe that you have the best product and that it's well worth the investment because that feeling they're going to get is so rare and special and will last a lifetime, why wouldn't you invest in that? You know, you don't want to cheapen that, right? You don't want to dilute that. So you hold that dominant belief, knowing that, you know, within reason, there's a way for you to get these garments, you know, like, I mean, if you're just like a cheapo, then hey, take care of the car payment, you know, a suit right now. Like there's probably even some like prudence and like financial IQ that there's probably been times where you like, you know, you don't take like a credit check, but you're probably like, bro, you don't need a suit right now. You can take care of your family, like get your shit together, you know? So there's probably some of that, I would imagine, in your years of doing this. But I love the way that you're inclusive, but unapologetically you, right? And I think people miss that. There's a lot going on right now with the DEI and, you know, diversity and equality and inclusion. It's like, those are wonderful words. What does that really look like, right? You know, and it is hard, man. It is super hard to be inclusive, but hold standards, you know, and keep boundaries.
Right.
And then also I heard this in high school and it stuck with me. You know, my mom would say it, my parents would say it. If you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything. And I always sort of latched on to that, so I was like, that gave me permission to be bold in my faith, to be bold in my beliefs, and recognize that maybe I don't have it all figured out too. Right, I might think something today and get an insight and be like, yo, my bad, I didn't really think of it from your point of view. So that's so cool that you've been able to take this industry, take this space, and really make it your life, your life's work. You talked about as a child, like running through the the store and having like a feeling for the textile and the textures. Is there a defining moment that you can identify? Was it kind of like slow and subtle, or did something at one point like jolt you into it? Because you mentioned that you went to school for exercise science and
Yeah.
making custom clothing. There's not really much of a connection there. So
No.
how did you like get into this industry when you like really made the decision and
Oh,
went like full send?
it was my senior year in college.
Okay.
That's when I was making we started as the bow tie guy and the bow tie company.
Cool.
So that was the whole thrift store, going to the thrift store every Wednesdays, 50% off, getting the sheets, the pillowcases, and then bringing them back to the apartment and making the bow ties and then selling the bow ties to the fraternities.
So you were making bow ties out of sheets?
Sheets, pajamas, pillowcases.
Just cool materials.
I had some Ralph Lauren pajamas with the ponies all over it. Cut them up, man, and made some bow ties.
And you just made the shape, and then they were like real bow ties where you had to tie them?
They were pre-tied.
Oh, cool.
So I went to Hobby Lobby and got like an elastic piece.
Yeah.
Was able to put that around the back and sewed the knot in the middle. So it was. I have one original left that I
really
keep.
Cool, man.
So yeah, that's how we started. And to your point of like paying your dues and being consistent, like bro, I was charging $350 for a jacket, pants, shirt, bow tie, shoes, and a GPA discount when I first started as a stylist, like styling whoever. It was prom, it was weddings, and this was 2015. So we're 9 years later.
What's GPA?
Grade point average.
Oh,
so like if you were in high school,
yeah, right.
like for certain, we have it now, but if you had a certain, at least a 2.0, we would get 10%.
Cool. 2.5. So you were rewarding their academia.
Yeah.
Their performance in academics.
Yeah,
that's cool.
And it like, so now it gives them something to work towards.
Right.
So we're doing our early bird prom special. Hey, stack the coupon with your GPA. Oh, if I work hard, I can go to Arminius and I can get 15% off. So cool, it's also like an incentive, to keep the kids doing something positive and shooting for something.
I got to tell you a story real quick, man, because you triggered something for me. So I grew up very poor, but we had social capital because we were athletic, not the worst looking people, and really involved in the community and church and all that. So this is how I would go to our dances, because it was hard to put together the money for the suits and for the tuxes and all that. So it's messed up. But there's a Marshall's in West Ocean City, and I could go into a Marshall's, get a suit, and kind of like the one I'm wearing right now with some tags on it. I would keep the tags on it.
Yeah.
Go to the dance, like take my jacket off, dance with the like cheap shirt, and then return that shit the next day.
Yes, sir.
So I love the idea that you're providing these beautiful pieces to people that have been working hard that maybe don't have the resources, because that would have been me. I mean, I'd have been one of those guys bringing you my 4.0 GPA being like, yo, let's go, but instead I had to do the Marshall's, return it the next day.
Listen, man, it really does. I think the revelation from that GPA was about 3 years ago. I just had he had like a 4.6.
Dang.
And he came in and I said, you know what? We're just going to square away the tab. You got a 4.6. And he was with his mom, and she just broke in the office. She just broke down crying.
That's great, man.
And the whole time she was like, he ended up walking out to go to the car. She's like, you had no idea. I had no idea how I was going to pay for it, but he was like sending me your social media. This is the guy. This is the company. This is the company. And I'm not a parent, but I'm sure the kids, they don't know how the things get done. They just know that it's done.
Right.
Dad, mom and dad provided.
They'll figure it out.
Like they'll just figure it out.
They don't know the burden that they're putting on them to get something that they want. When they adult, they'll look back and be like, "Oh, damn, I shouldn't even ask for that."
Right.
Yeah.
right? And
Wow,
just
man.
imagine now, like we're talking $200 sneakers.
Oh,
We're
right,
talking
right.
senior fees, graduation cap and gown, grad bash. Oh man, it's like it's a lot of expenses prior to you getting to a prom night, which is optional. You don't have to go to prom.
Right,
You
right.
don't. It's like,
But it
but
becomes a core memory. It becomes,
everyone's going to prom. You taking pictures that'll last forever. So for you to not be able to go because, and think about it, a lot of students when I was a teacher, I'm Mr. Patterson, I ain't going to prom. That's lame. That's green. No, you
right,
really want to go,
right, right.
but you
Yeah,
don't have the custom
yeah.
suit that the world has now started to wear. Your friends have it. Everyone has it. You don't want to show up with the big boxy suit. So you're
Right.
going to downplay the whole experience. I ain't going to that, man.
Yeah,
I
that's
don't want
that's
that.
not that's beat, and you're
Nah,
like, nah, you
man.
just don't have what you need to feel the way you want to
And then
feel
we
to
come up
go.
with the giveaway, and I see you
That's
here
great, man.
because you really wanted to go.
Right.
And the fact that you can get a suit from us being the top company, it's like, man, I finally got me one. So those are the things that is like it makes it
That's
so well
that's
worth it.
precious, man. I mean, I think
Um,
about my experience because I was able to excel in some of those other areas, academics, athletics. I was able to pull my confidence from there and like transfer it, knowing that I didn't have the maybe the best dress or the best, like car, clothes, like the trappings, the things that
mhm.
the rich kids had. Um, but that was hard to do. I mean, like for me, it was hard. I had these other areas that I was excelling in, and I still felt like inferior or nervous. So if somebody's not killing it in these other areas, they're going to miss entire moments of their lives. And I love that you're facilitating that because it becomes kind of um, an example or a microcosm of like the rest of their lives, right? I mean, there's going to be these moments where you got to dress up and show up and put up, and if you don't have the confidence to do that or the resources to do that, and it's this interesting chicken or the egg scenario too, right? Because it's like, well, which came first, right? Did you have
Mhm.
confidence and then you gain the competence, or did you have the competence and then you gain the confidence? Did you have the resources and then you were successful, or did you choose to be successful and then the byproduct were the resources? And I think what you're facilitating, what you're speaking to is this, kind of walk by faith, step into it, like do the deal, right? And they had to show up that day knowing that, all right, and who knows what was going through her mind. She might have thought, I'm going to
Right,
have to pull him aside and say, hey, can I do a little payment now and a little payment later?
right.
And sounds like the Holy Spirit put it on your heart to be like, bro, you got a 4.6? Like, nah, man, like I got you. That's really cool, man.
Yeah,
That's really
yeah.
cool.
And the flip side also is understanding the same heart we have to serve the student who doesn't have the 4.6. Because
Right.
that was me. I had the 2.1.
Right.
But you know what
Right.
I
But
mean?
look
Like
at you
it's like,
now.
dang, dude, we just exclude
Right.
that population because they don't test well,
Right. Right.
or
Right.
they can't
That
sit.
construct of education, which
Yeah,
is not.
like
Yeah.
no, So it's like, yeah, they can't sit still for 90 minutes straight. Well, hey, I can't sit. I'm having a hard time now. I don't know how how long we've been
Right.
doing
Right.
this,
Right.
but you know what I mean.
We'll round third base. I got a couple
So
more questions for you. Talk to me about like where do you go from here? So is the play to diversify products? Is it to get bigger influences like or influencers? What is your like expansion? Because it sounds like you've got a great thing going, right? That
mhm.
you're doing the things that are meaningful and impactful. You're building a successful business. What are some of the like in this season of working on it, being still, like what are some of the plans and visions? What is God prompting you to do from here?
Honestly, man, he's definitely prompted me to just get my systems in order
Okay.
because I ran into some things. We're a custom suit company, not a perfect suit company.
Okay.
And the second thing with the expansion, man, is literally we want one in every state. Audacious by Arminius. And we want to continue to grow, but we want to have people who are passionate about serving, about clothing, about doing the things that we do as a company, and everything else will be a byproduct of
Right.
the foundation that we've already
So
laid.
kind of similar to like a franchise model.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Okay,
yeah, for
cool.
sure. Yeah.
I really want to keep talking to you about this expansion plan. I was just having a meeting with a gentleman who is an expert in the franchise space. And he was giving me some really great nuggets for my core to get into um, the franchising industry and help emerge. He called it emerging sectors. So what he said is that any brand that has fewer than 150 units is considered an emerging sector. So we talked about like Sky Zone, if you're familiar with that. They're now at like 355 units, but like locations.
What's Sky Zone?
I don't even really know, man. Yeah. I'm not pretending like I knew what I was talking. I was like, yo, Sky Zone.
And I was going to do that just then. Like, yeah I know what Sky Zone.
I know like all about Sky Zone.
Yeah.
I think it's like an indoor skydiving experience.
Gotcha.
You ever see that where like I think they're just getting like blown
up,
without getting on a plane and
gotcha.
possibly dying. So yeah, I just was fronting like, yes, I couldn't agree more with you about Sky Zone. So no, I don't really know. But I think that's what it is. So point being is that like to get in with a client that's already past that point and become their like go-to solution for what we do on the people ops side and the digital marketing side, that's just a lot more difficult. Right. But he said, man, if you could get into emerging sectors, so this is kind of top of mind for me because it was literally yesterday. So are you thinking that you could systematize what you've built to the point where another person that aligns with you, that, is a good culture fit would become their own business owner using your brand, your systems, your processes, your suppliers? Is that the vision?
Yes.
And you already have something like that. You have one location at this point in North Carolina?
One other location in North Carolina. We had like a hybrid type model in Atlanta. And we have to refine that. Okay. But yeah, because we don't have a lot of overhead. You don't need a lot of space to do what we do. And that's the thing, you have to do what God has told you to do and not listen and not try to mimic and look at, hey man, you need a bigger space, you need a traditional storefront. Yep. And look at the times we're in. The traditional storefronts are closing down, unfortunately.
It's too expensive.
And you sit on all this inventory that you don't move, or you have to do sales and things of that nature.
Right.
Then you need the capital. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah. And
like you said, it's too expensive because every month the bills is not going to stop. Right. So we've created this dope model that if you have a iPad or a MacBook, measuring tape, fabrics, and the heart to do it.
I want to talk to you more about this offline, man, because I'd love to be the provider of some of the infrastructure that would be needed around the marketing, around, paying properly, being compliant, kind of the people operations. Now, I would imagine that in this scenario, it probably wouldn't take a lot of staff. You would find an individual that has a love for fashion, that has the right values, understands the mission of the company, just sort of gets the brand, gets the purpose. And then could they start on the side from what they do and kind of fit it in and build it up? Or is it like all or nothing? I mean, you're building an empire, so it's probably all or nothing for you. And I am curious how you balance all that. I want to talk to you about that, but give me, like, we talked about kind of your ideal customer or client profile. Who would be like your ideal business partner or associate, or however you ended up labeling it? So no, franchisee.
We have that component as well. We have two individuals who are capable to literally commute to you, bring you the fabric, conduct the consultation, take the measurements, and they have a full-time 9-to-5 career. Nice. So they kind of work on their own schedule in a sense. So that's another great aspect and component of the company, is who wouldn't want Uber Eats.
Right. Just right to the
everything is right here. Walmart pickup, like everything is so much delivering the goods to you in a sense. So if I could come to you for a quick 20, 30 minutes on your lunch break, you don't have to leave the office, and I come back to you in 3 weeks with a custom suit. Right. It's a true experience and it fits you to the T. You're not going to go back to a department store. Right. And you don't have to order online. because we're bringing it to your front door.
And
So
with that, is that the which brand is that? Are you still massaging how you would brand that piece?
no, we that's like now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's like right now. Like, so if someone just didn't want to come into the office
Okay.
space,
You can meet
or
them.
I have a guy who kind of just goes around to different attorney offices and just knocks on doors.
Right.
Hey, my name is Steve. I work for
Smart.
Audacious by Arminius. We have some of the greatest fabrics on the market.
Cool.
We'd love to get you in a custom shirt or
Nice.
get you a pair of custom trousers. And I'm going to build you up to the
Right.
suit.
Right.
But
So
you're like,
start
oh
small.
man, and if he can get in front of 10 guys a day,
Right.
talking about the no's, we need that one yes.
Yeah.
You know, times 5 times a week or whatever his schedule may permit. If it's just a weekend,
Yeah.
like that's a pretty good, some pretty
Man,
good
that's
money
a
he
great-
can make too, man. So no, that I think that component outside of just the brick and mortar
Right.
is a piece that I like, because you can get into exclusive clientele, people who just don't have the time really to fly into Jacksonville all the time.
Right.
It's a little bit more expensive,
Right.
but the convenience, the service, the experience, and it's like, man, how dope is this, man? I had a stylist come directly to my office,
Right.
and he brought everything,
Yeah.
like
Right on your
suit in a box. You know what I mean? So
I love it. I think there's a little bit of like, I don't know if ego is the word, but at least like pride, like if you're a boss and you're, in your office, you're in your space, and there's people that, maybe it's your employees, maybe it's your colleagues, it'd probably be kind of cool to have them see you. Like, I think like I felt kind of cool when we were just getting, actually the people that were here today from like the corporate, expansive corporate, they were like, what are you guys doing over there? Don't worry about it. I didn't say that, but I was like, oh, actually, yeah, we're doing a podcast, and we're both here in the building, and they were pretty jazzed about it. They said they wanted to talk more about it, but I could totally see why that experience would be attractive, because that individual who is confident and takes pride in the way that they are and dress and look, it probably would be a cool vibe to be like, oh yeah, I was just getting fitted for my suit. So what were we talking about? Like, and that's very on brand with, I would imagine, a lot of that area of your client base, right? That's really cool, man. So how do you, I see, like I mentioned earlier, your work ethic, and that oftentimes we're some of the first ones here and the last ones to go. And, I'll be here on like a day that, I don't know, maybe it rained or something. We kind of look at each other like, where's everyone at? The other tenants in the building. How do you balance all that, right? You're married. Do you have any hobbies? Because you can't wear that suit doing a lot of hobbies, So I like, what is like a day in the life for you look like?
Bro, I'm young, but I got an old soul. Like I do.
Yeah.
Old
That's
stuff.
awesome.
That people
How
would
old
think.
are you, Arminius? I don't even know.
33.
Nice.
But people, I don't know. My wife says it a lot. My wife is 31, but she's
Okay.
like,
you're like an old man.
Yeah.
Take a pipe. I could see you with like a pipe in that suit.
I'm doing a photo shoot like that too. The pipe. Nice. But I'm literally, man, so I have a thing, I'll never miss a Monday.
Okay.
Started that way, but I've missed a couple Mondays. But it's basically just taking one day throughout the week and just shutting everything off, do something for yourself. And for me, that could be a pedicure, a massage.
Nice. You get a pedicure? It's like I hang out with you more, man. I've never had a pedicure.
Oh yeah, man. It could be a hot towel shave.
Okay.
A movie.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Thrifting for me,
Cool.
A cigar lounge,
Awesome.
all types of things. Just something. And again, it doesn't have to be expensive.
Right.
Something that you like to do, knowing who you are.
Yeah.
Some people like to golf, pickleball, like whatever that may be, workout. But it's like, hey, I'm not emailing. My assistant knows not to email me anything on that specific day. It's not possible for you to book on my calendar on that day. Right. And I just take a time to myself, man, because I know what it takes to be me, what I need to operate to be this great. You know what I mean? Like, this is what it takes to be me. Yeah. So it's never miss a Monday. And it's like, hey, man, I'm going to lunch by myself. Yeah. I'm going to enjoy a nice view. I'm going to go thrifting. And then I might just go home, meal prep a little bit, then watch one of my favorite series. But I've reset. Yep. New ideas have kind of came to me in a sense, and I'm ready to take on the next day.
That's great.
So that's how I kind of get that balance of not working so much and not adopting that whole, I'll sleep when I'm dead. Right. If you don't work, you don't eat. And that philosophy may work for other people.
Right.
However, we've built the brand not to go into cruise control. However, we're in a good space to where I don't have to work extremely hard 7 days a week anymore.
Right. Because it can wait, right? I mean, if you plot it out well enough, these there's no like nobody calls in the middle of the night and is like, I mean, it sounds like sometimes there's like emergencies that maybe they didn't prepare well and you need to get a fitting or something, but you're not firemen, right? So
Right.
like it's like, all right, your wedding's like 6 months from now. Like
Yeah.
I can plan accordingly, or we'll have that suit ready for you in time for the AFC championship or whatever it is, right? So you get to choose and put your big rocks in place. And I think a lot of people don't really consider the power of that, right? Have you seen that illustration before with the fish bowl and all the different rocks and sand and water? Have you ever seen that?
No,
It's really cool. You can Google it. There's different like visuals for it, but the short version is that it's a fish bowl. So just imagine like a glass bowl, and then you have like big rocks, like literal like granite, and then you've got like smaller rocks, and then pebbles, and then sand, and then water. And when you look at all these elements, all these rocks, it looks like there's no way that would ever fit in that small fishbowl. Like, how could you possibly fit all that?
Right.
But what you do is you place the big rocks first, right? And it kind of creates this little mosaic, but there's all this space in between those rocks where you put the next smaller ones, and then the smallest ones, and then it gets down to like gravel and sand, and then there's like a big cup of water, and then that fills all the space, and it's like, damn, that all fit in there. But if you try to do it in the reverse order, you put the water first, you put the smaller rocks, you put the sand, it never fits, right? So that's sort of a visual or a metaphor for our calendar, right? The way that we keep our balance is, it's like, what are the big rocks in your life, right? What are the things that are like non-negotiable? So church, like, it's like, all right, I'm going to go to church every Sunday without fail. Obviously there's times where you can't, be it travel or sickness or whatever. But if you prioritize these things,
right,
you can fit in all these other areas. And I think I'm guilty of this. Like, I don't typically have a big rock for myself. It's everyone else's thing, or it's like a group thing, like our all hands meeting. I don't ever miss it. But I've been thinking about that lately, like almost starting to give myself permission to take time and be like, what if I did golf for 3 hours in the middle of, like, that would feel weird for me. I would feel really guilty. But you seem to be like, you're good.
Your whole day
like
is
hot shaves.
Yeah, your day is gone. If you're golfing,
right,
and it's early in the morning that we do it, but the day is pretty much, because you're gonna be out there for a while.
Right. It takes most of the day.
Yeah, but
it's important.
Yeah, I value freedom over the money. You know what I mean? Like,
plus in your line of work, you're gonna meet somebody on the golf course or at the lounge or in the cigar. That's the beauty of it. In a way, that's probably the best thing you could be doing for your business. Absolutely. Right? Yeah. I mean, what, you cold call NFL players all day? Hey, it's me. Like, how do you even get their number? Right? I mean, you've got to be in these circles and in these environments.
Right.
So you've got a cool, sexy business, man. Yeah. I don't know what I've been doing over here with.
And I'm not even a great golfer.
No.
At all.
No. You just.
But the fact that I'm strategically placing myself in that area, and I can just, as long as I can make contact with the ball, and I got a couple of cigars to offer you, you know what I mean? Right. It's like, oh, okay, cool. Like, people do business who they feel comfortable with. It's like, and that's the thing about like the first yes or the several no's is, like, sometimes I think we have this arrogance about us that's thinking, like, I'm gonna close the deal the first time I meet Nathan on the golf course. Right. No, I bumped into Nathan on the golf course. Right. I know Nathan goes to Starbucks. Right. I know Nathan has a meeting here. So the third time is like, bro, didn't I see you?
Yeah,
you're like, you know what, man, you got 10. Let me run in here and grab you some. And it's like, oh, I got him.
Let's go.
But most people think because I sit down with Nathan, let me pitch him on this.
Right.
It's like, bro,
it's a different, you're at a different level in this product line that it would be really inappropriate, to behave that way. And you obviously have something I value a great deal and aim to have myself. I call it a relaxed intensity, where it's like, yo, Arminius is chill, but like, he's on the move, like, I see you in here, you're like, you're on the move. And I think people appreciate that because they don't want to be with somebody that's so chill. I mean, we all know a chill guy, but it's like, I don't want to do business with that person,
Yeah.
or they don't really inspire me. And then on the flip side, if they're intense all the time, it's like, oh man, like chill, like,
Yeah.
take a breather. So I love that tension that you hold between the relaxation and the intensity. Um, I have another question for you as we kind of wrap up today. Um, Something I've found in business to be true, and it's really hard because it takes a lot of discipline. When you start getting traction and you're having success and you're building a client base, it can get really tempting to do all these other things, right? To keep going with the clothing analogy, you can be like the guy in New York with the trench coat that's like, I got watches and I got sunglasses, right? So, how do you draw boundaries around things that you do or don't do? And what are some of the things that are like adjacent? Like, I know you have this product here, this cologne, so that's fitting, right? That makes sense to me. If you were like, oh, and I also sell insurance, I'd be like, well, that's weird. You know what I mean? Like, or like, so or I sell high end cars as well, right? I mean, then you get into that, like, wow, you're really diluting your brand there. So I'm just kind of curious your thinking around that, because I think that people need to recognize that if they're successful, there's some ingredients that are certainly theirs that you get to be like, this was my part. And then there's like God's will, call it luck, fortune. There's just sort of like some things that worked out that you got to be humble to. And if you try to take just the part that you did and apply it to too many other things, you're like, why aren't these working? And it's like, you missed the magic that was in that thing that was really of your making. So it seems like you're really dialed into that, and you know your sweet spot and you stay in your lane, even with large vision for it. And I'm just kind of curious how you wrestle with that, or how you have guidelines for that.
Yeah. So it's kind of the philosophy of deeper and not wider. No Diddy, pause. So it's literally like you want to go into things that make sense within the company. Like you said, like, I don't want to do suits, and then it's like, oh, yeah, I'm running a food truck too.
Right.
Oh, okay. Right. So when I come in to get
got
a suit,
some grease on your collar.
You know what I mean? So like with the cologne, it was a no-brainer.
Right.
But it's falling in love with the process all over again.
Okay.
So the same way I feel about the suits is what I felt about with the cologne now.
Yeah.
And it's like every day waking up, being consistent. Like, hey, and I don't want to feel like I'm selling you anything. You're in the office, you're wearing a suit, you want to smell good. I've already sprayed the office with the cologne.
Right. Like,
so you're like, man, it smells great in here. Oh, does it?
Yeah. I never thought you'd say
It's like, oh wow, what's this?
And where did you? Is this a cologne that you found somewhere? I've never heard of it before. Like,
no, man. So we actually. Like me, Alex Curtis, who's my business partner in North Carolina, and then Gabriel Rogers. It's called Wealthy Cologne. I'm a third owner, and
this is an oriral product of yours.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't realize
So
that.
it's manufactured in Italy.
Okay.
So we pretty much.
Let me smell it, man.
Yeah, it smells.
Yeah, I don't wear cologne, so I got to throw a little on there. Oh. This is how you do it, right?
Yeah. So smell it initially, and then
like
maybe 3 minutes after, smell it again. It's gonna give a whole nother scent.
It's got like a slow release.
Yeah, man, soft. It's amazing, man.
That does smell good. It's fresh. It doesn't seem like you're like a guy that the smell of it doesn't seem like you got like. The people have like 17 different colognes in their dresser, and they're like, I got a different one for a different type of girl. They're like, you're weird, man, but this is like, I just like to not smell like crap.
Yeah.
It's fresh.
So it did well. Well, it's doing well. Yeah. We sold like 145 units in the first 6 months.
Cool, man.
And again, falling in love every single day. So holding myself accountable. Man, we haven't posted. We haven't ran ads. We haven't did our email marketing.
It's been purely organic.
So we need to get back on what we've been doing. But this made sense within the suiting thing. And then you have people who come to you with these great ideas, and it's just an idea because they see Nathan doing so well. And they really just want to ride your coattail. And they want you to invest.
The analogies just keep going.
Like,
they want to ride your coattail.
But what's the execution? Like, what is it going to look like?
Right.
Like outside of capital, like what do you need me to do? And then more so, what are you going to do? And what have you done? Because you're bringing me this idea of Arminius, we should add watches to the suit brand. Okay, great.
What's
Project
that
and
look
the
like?
watch. What
Yeah.
does it look like? Are we doing manufacturing? What's the
Right.
price point?
What's the
What's
margin?
the
Yeah. How do we package it,
margin?
deliver it? Yeah.
Does
And
it?
most people don't put that forethought in,
No.
right? Because that's boring. I want to watch Netflix. I don't want to be thinking about that all night.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And my main question is like, ask myself, like, does the brand align? And when it doesn't align, I have to say, okay, cool,
Right.
thanks so much, but it doesn't align, or we'll
Yep.
get back to you. So that's kind of how I decipher, just having that spirit of discernment. Like, yeah, I want to, dab into this, or we're doing very well over here. I
Yeah.
know this, and I feel like for you to be an expert at something, you have to do it,
Right.
or you have to have done it.
Right.
You can research it, you can be
Right.
knowledgeable about something, but if I've never done a podcast, I can only tell you so much
Right.
about what I've seen. Like, I don't know about the cameras
Right.
and like what just happened.
Either do I.
You know what I mean? So it's
right.
to be an expert, like, are you going to put that work?
Yeah.
It comes back to the work ethic. Like,
Totally.
are you going to dive into, or am I going to pay you to be the expert?
Right.
Kind of, boom.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I trust and believe your craft, your portfolio. When you come to me with this watch idea,
Right.
oh, you're the guy who also did the joint venture with this guy.
Right. Yeah. Show me your W's, like
Right.
show me your wins, especially at a certain age, right? Like we're at the age now where if you're in your, I'm not shaming anyone here, but if you're in your 30s and you don't have anything you could be like, I did that, well, then you need to get on it like right now. So that by the time you're 43, 45, you can be like, I did that. And if not, then, probably right now it's okay. I mean, you and I might be kind of rare in that maybe we started earlier than most, as far as like I started my first business in college, a clothing company. Actually, we'll have to talk about that more. But it's like I started that time in grade and I got those 10,000 hours and I made all those mistakes earlier when the stakes were lower. So now if you're getting involved with somebody in business, there's other people to consider. I've got family that I provide for. My wife stays at home because of this business. So I've had to get really comfortable with saying no.
Yeah.
And that is really, really hard. That flag right there, actually, the one next to the pen one,
gotcha,
is a pretty cool story. I'll tell you quickly. I think you'll identify with it and kind of why I chose it as a symbol, as part of the kind of mosaic here or collage on the wall. In nautical language, there's flags, right, that they would communicate. Old ships and boats would communicate with each other using flags. That is a sort of stylistic rendition of the letter N, or no. So the flag in the nautical like alphabet is this checkered navy blue and white flag. It's a square flag. That one's more like a pennant, but it is a reminder for me. I actually have pins made of it too. That I am who I am, not because of the things that I said yes to, but because of the things that I said and say no to.
That's good, bro.
People get obsessed with yes and open-mindedness and all is permissible, and it's like, no, we live in a universe. Yes, we serve a God that's boundaryless, that's limitless, but that's him, not us. We're human, we're mere mortals, we're confined by time and space, and he put these laws in place,
right,
like E equals MC squared and gravity and like 24 hours in a day
plus B. Yeah.
Right. So it's like if you don't respect that because you're too large, you're larger than life, you're gonna get yourself killed and you're gonna harm a lot of people in the process. There's gonna be carnage with that mentality. So as being an entrepreneur, it's an interesting animal because you're a rule breaker by nature, you're a bit of a rebel, but you better respect the laws of success and the laws of the universe. And for me, I don't say that like the universe. I say God, like the creator, the one that I serve, put this in place for a reason, right? You wouldn't let your children just roam in the streets. You love them too much, to let them do that. So anyway, that you've got to just been mentioning through our conversation today the word no, and I wanted to tease that out a little bit more and highlight that, because I would imagine you have to say no a lot, right? And it sounds like you have. And also your time, right? Your time becomes more valuable. In the early stages, you're like, yes, I'll take that appointment. Yes, I'll do that suit. Yes, I'll do that, take that client. And then as you build it up, it's like, nah, we don't do that. Nope, that's not aligned. Nope, it's not on our roadmap. So I think very few people get to that level where they have to say no. It's not fun, actually. It's like every level has its devil. And now you're like, I get to be the one saying no all the time. Like, I'm the Debbie Downer.
But no doesn't have to be negative. I think we were just taught that, like, if they say no, you can't. If God's saying no, you can't have that right now.
Right. I recognize that time is valuable, and I recognize that my time is valuable. But I think too many people have gotten like really control freaks around their calendar, and they're missing opportunities that it's like, yo, God's going to show up in everything that you didn't control. Like, you have to have the structure, but you have to create the space for him to enter it and create these unique connections. I bet if you track back a lot of those larger wins that you've had, like the big clients, there's probably like 7 to 10 moments that you're like, yo, what if I didn't go to that one place for that 1 second and make that one interaction? And that's where I think being less of a control freak, letting go and letting God. So it's life's a series of contrasts. It's both these things, right? It's mapping it out, it's planning it out, it's envisioning it, and it's totally allowing God to have the ultimate control.
Yeah. And the time I would, because and the time that from this scenario, I may have felt like, dang, Nathan, I should have been in here, right? But if I would have came sooner, who knows at what space in my life as a business owner, like, oh man, what are we going to talk about? Because you've done some things, but you don't have the clone yet. You don't have this client yet. Right. You haven't arrived here yet. But I'm thinking like, bro, if you get me on here, bro, we're going to do crazy numbers. We're going to do this, do this. We would have did all right, but not compared to now. So the time and not taking it personal, like, hey, respect everyone else's timing as well. Like, just because you think you should be here at this time, having that perspective of like, yeah, man, Nathan may have literally a structure of what he wants to do when he wants to do it. And it's not personal, bro. It's just like, bro, I'm trying to carve out the time.
It's funny you're saying this, man. I'm glad we're having this conversation, because I was talking to Susan Marie, our chief growth officer, yesterday, telling her about us doing this episode today. And she sort of alluded to the same thing, because I said, yeah, he's actually in the building, and he's super, super great guy. Like, I'm excited to do this. And I think she kind of said something like, oh, was he not available? Like, almost like, why didn't you do it up to this point? And my response was, I really wanted to do it with people that I already knew, so that I could get some of the like nervous energy out, get into a flow, like learn it a little bit more. I said, because I respect Arminius and we have had good interactions, but I don't know him. You know what I mean? Like he doesn't know me. Right. So I'm going to be asking questions that are not like, I know probably what he's going to say. So that is even part of it too, right? Where it's like you being on today and us doing this episode, I wanted to be more prepared so that you could have a better experience, right? So like the head trash could be like, man, I see like some people coming in there. I'm right here, bro. Like, why don't you ask me to be, And I wasn't, like slighting you like that. I just really was kind of the opposite. I was like, I want to have my stuff together, which is sort of ironic because we had all these technical issues that I haven't had before. But I'm telling you, man, I really do believe that everything that happens in the physical first happens in the spiritual, right? That we kind of live in the upside down, that we're not physical beings having a spiritual experience. We're spiritual beings having a physical experience, right? That's another one of those churchy things that that people say. But I think that these conversations, these alliances really matter. And whatever you call it, be it darkness, evil, Satan, the enemy doesn't want these things to happen, right? They don't want leaders to come together. They don't want diversity in leadership. They don't want, God to get the glory. And I pay attention to that stuff. When I see that the camera's not working and it's always worked without even thinking twice about it, I'm like, this is going to be a really important episode. We got to plow forward. Because there was even a moment when we were setting up where I was like, maybe we reschedule this. And I'm like, no, we're doing the damn thing. We're figuring it out. So I'm super pumped that we got this opportunity. And I want to just keep checking back in with you, because I think that you have something special, and I think that God's equipping you to influence influencers.
Right.
And that's an interesting space to be in, right? Because you could be the person that tries to get the limelight and be the one that, gets all the attention. But you're really wise in knowing that if I take one step back
Mm-hmm.
and I highlight those people, I can impact the impactors. Is
Mm-hmm.
that something you've thought about? Because I think you have a gift for that, like influencing influencers, if
Yeah,
that
yeah.
makes sense.
And
Not like just influencers, like TikTok influencers. I mean,
no,
like
no, no.
people that
Yeah.
have
And
influence.
and vice versa. Like if I take a step back, I will have to allow for me to say, God, send me the people you want to serve, and He sends me the people. They also have poured into me,
Yeah.
like in a way. Like I had a house call like 2 years ago. It was like, bro, this guy just delivered a message that I didn't even know was coming, and we were talking about clothes, and he was like, bro, I feel the Holy Spirit in here,
Mm.
and I'm dropping off his suit.
Right. You're just routine drop off.
He doesn't know me. He really doesn't know me.
Yeah.
But I'm like, wow, okay. So it's really, again, it's not all about me because their prayer can be like similar, like, hey,
Right.
send me who you want me to serve, God. Use
Right.
me as a vessel. And he sees me coming and he's just like dropping some stuff in my spirit and it really aligns. So to your point, yes, definitely, I do feel that way. Um, to get the word out on another platform to influence the influencer.
Yeah.
I definitely feel that way as well, but I'm also in a humble position to like listen.
Yeah.
But I'm also being mindful, like what comes into that I let into my spirit, into my ears, and what I see. And when the brands don't align, that's why we can say like, unfortunately we all booked up, or
Right.
unfortunately,
Right.
like, I just won't take
Suit
the other
yourself.
client.
Yeah.
Literally, go suit
You're gonna
yourself.
have to suit yourself.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because you can tell, and it's not
Right.
judging, but I'm using that. And if I'm wrong, God, I'll be all the way wrong with it,
Yeah.
and He'll correct me later down the line. But even keeping those things outside of the office, praying like literally in my office when people walk through this threshold, that this
Yeah.
is someone that He kind of son in, and not the opposite. Because
cool.
I've had situations, bro, like people they don't want to see you do well for whatever reason, and it's
Right.
just the truth of it. Like they're trying to find out, like, hey, what is he doing? Or where's he
Yeah.
getting this from? And I'm gonna blast them on social media because we're not a perfect suit
Right.
company.
So
And
they're like looking for the holes.
yeah,
I always say a dog doesn't bark at a parked car, right? So when you're moving and shaking and doing your thing, people yap, people bark, right? And it's really hard to build um, tough skin around that, because under that nice suit is just a guy trying to figure it out,
mm-hmm,
right? And under those
mm-hmm,
pads, under that jersey, under that, CEO, even people that are up in the upper echelon of society
right,
are just trying to figure it out, right? And I think that's why we have to give grace, and then more grace and more grace, and give ourselves grace. That's rich, man. That's really good. I could talk to you for hours. I also just like the way I feel in this suit, man. I might have to rock it more. Wait, real quick, I gotta know, how many suits do you have, man? A lot. Yeah. I mean, I don't really see you wear the same thing that
it's,
much, or you fooled me because you miss it. You
yeah,
mix it more.
probably like on the low end, probably 30 on
Nice.
the low end,
Yeah,
maybe. You
that's
know what I'm
not
saying?
the one for every day of the month.
Yeah, nothing too
Yeah.
crazy.
You were saying though, Tariq said money's a tool.
Yes, but for him to have this platform
Mhm.
to expose people who have never heard money is a tool, and then he kind of elaborates like why he feels like money is a tool.
Yeah.
But we talk about the mindset of certain people who come from certain backgrounds who they don't know money is a tool. They don't know
Mhm.
about using the credit card
Right.
as the leverage and keeping it below the 30% and the
Right.
due date versus the statement date.
Right.
And it's like, oh, after my statement date, I'm finna run my card back up,
Right.
and do it all over again. So it's that exposure to the knowledge and not just the physical things, but the knowledge is also what I feel like with the quote is you can't be what you don't see. Exposure is key. So being in that space to get the knowledge, to know those gems and applying it to where it
Yeah.
fits.
This is some good stuff, man. I think there's so many like avenues that we could have another conversation around now that we've set the stage. Men's mental health, what it means to be a man, and there's a real sort of attack on the masculine
Yeah.
journey, in so many ways. I know I'd be open a can of worms if we went into that now. But let's do another episode, and I'll make sure I actually get fitted for a suit before that. So it's real smooth. But I'm pumped to have had you on the show. I know we'll do further conversations down the road, and just tell us how some of our listeners can reach out to you. I know we're connected on social media. We'll kind of mention everything, but is there a website? Is there an appropriate way if they're going, hey man, I've got a special occasion coming up, or I've been thinking about it, and I like what I see.
Yeah, so we pretty much streamlined the process. It's just www.dapperdowntoearth.com.
Okay,
You can just click right at the top left, schedule a consultation,
cool.
pick your date, pick your water, pick your wine, pick your cigar that you want when you come into the office. You can
That's
pick from the
awesome.
website.
Oh, that's
Come
cool.
in and get fitted, man. Instagram and social media, Facebook and Instagram, I'm sorry. Audacious by Arminius. LinkedIn is Arminius Patterson.
Okay.
TikTok, Audacious by
Yeah,
Arminius.
yeah.
We're getting into the TikTok wave. Twitter, the
Cool.
same way. So like all the handles are pretty much the same. But yeah, man, give us a call, 866-623-6443, extension 0.
I love it. Yeah, and of course, reach out to me. I'll connect you directly with Arminius if you
Yeah.
want. So good stuff, man. I appreciate you, bro. It's great having you here, man. We'll get some good photos too. I'm not taking this suit off quite yet.
Yeah.